Hello. The company which houses hundreds of homeless people in a converted office block in Harlow is promising action after an investigation by Look East. We teamed up with the Panorama programme to go undercover at Templefields House.
Staff told our reporter that they were struggling to cope with the toxic mix of residents and that drugs were out of control. After the programme went out last night, the managers at Caradon Property told us they were taking the issues raised extremely seriously.
Tonight on Panorama. With homelessness on the rise, growing numbers of people are being housed in converted office blocks.
Reporter Callum Tully was told how some residents were scared.
Seen them hanging out the front.
There's been a lot of
You want drugs? You want drugs?
Yeah.
No, mate.
The programme went undercover, hearing stories of out-of-control drug dealing.
A lot of them are dealing, a lot of them dealing for now. So you can't, control 172 flats.
It heard how former prisoners were placed alongside victims of domestic violence and young children, with one manager questioned on why that happened.
This was my argument from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Do not do this, do not take probationers, do not do it, but 10 flats of money to them.
Yeah.
10 flats at $750 a pop
Is
a month.
And security staff failed to report a drunk driver to police just after a young child was running around in the same car park.
How old are you, darling?
She's 4 years old.
3 years old. Come on then, because there are cars here as well. We don't want you getting run over.
The flats are supposed to be temporary accommodation for the homeless, but Panorama's reporter met one man who'd been there for 3 years. His wife was terminally ill.
You're not here because you're a hale and hearty person in the first place. Something has brought you to this particular point. Without a Caradon, who would be providing this?
So Caradon are almost, they're your saviour?
Yeah, it's not a very palatable one, not a very nice one, but yes, there was no one else around.
In response to the programme, Caradon said it sympathised with Nick's circumstances and said the length of time residents stayed was out of its control. Referring to the issues raised, it said, "We are grateful to Panorama for bringing them to our attention, and as soon as we were made aware of them, we instigated an internal disciplinary investigation." But BBC Look East can now reveal a former tenant who was also a cleaner at Templefields discovered a heavily decomposed body in a room.
The smell hit you before you even opened the door, and there was flies everywhere, and it was just awful.
She resigned after finding the body in June last year. She said it had been there for a number of weeks.
All they were interested in was getting a room cleaned so they can get it back on with the council. And I said, that was it. It was enough for you. I'm out of here.
Caradon's yet to comment on the discovery of the body. It says its level of service and commitment to its tenants' welfare sets it apart from other operators. Tonight, there are more than 500 people in Harlow living in Caradon's converted offices. Nikki Fox, BBC Look East.
Well, Mark Ingle is the leader of Harlow Council. He joins us live now. Firstly, your reaction to the Panorama and what we revealed on the programme.
Well, clearly, the images we saw on Panorama last night are deeply shocking, but I'm afraid not entirely surprising. We've been aware of problems in permitted developments, those are office block conversions in Harlow, for some time. In fact, we spoke to Caradon several times over the last year and asked for improvements. When improvements clearly weren't apparent, we, as a council, passed a motion to remove all of our residents from all permitted developments, all office block conversions in as short a time as possible.
But there are still a lot of residents in Templefields House housed by you and your council. If you've known for so long, 15 months or so, that it wasn't safe, why haven't you moved them out quicker?
Well, look, let's be clear, the scale of the problem. We have 40 accommodation units in just one office block conversion, that's Templefields House. We use it sparingly, we use it reluctantly, and we use it as a last resort. There are 1,041 such office block conversions in Harlow, and the problem really arises from the mix of tenants, a toxic mix of tenants that are sent to these conversions from across the southeast. We would like to get our residents out as soon as possible, but we're a small council. We used to have 28,000 council houses. Now we have 8,000 council houses, and that's affected our ability to react to housing crises of this nature. We are doing everything we can, but we may need it, in fact, to build more.
You've been campaigning to get other councils to stop sending residents and to take back the ones that they have. What have the response been so far?
Well, the response has been largely positive from some councils, Enfield Council particularly. When they heard of the problems, they reacted to say that they would empty one complete office block within 6 months. I spoke to the leader of Three Rivers Council, and she had already started to take steps, and I think we were able to persuade her to complete the process of stopping to use Harlow. Havering Council have said the same. Other councils have not been as willing to engage with us.
So when you look at this company Caradon, how much harm do you think has been done to Harlow by what has been going on with these properties, both financial and reputational harm?
Well, clearly, you know, this is a news story that Harlow doesn't want, because we don't want people to be badly housed in Harlow. Harlow is a new town. It was founded on the basis of decent accommodation for everybody, and this isn't decent accommodation. There is a significant problem with converting offices and warehouses into accommodation without the need to go through planning permission.
And what are you going to do to help the people that are still there, because they are now Harlow residents? Briefly.
Well, not all of them are Harlow residents. Many of them remain the responsibility of the boroughs that have housed them here. We will do everything we possibly can. We're in daily contact with Caradon. We're in daily contact with the police services. But what's really needed here is for the government to take immediate action to stop permitted development rights which have allowed these office blocks to be created in the first place, perhaps even to allow for retrospective planning, and to lift the local housing allowance cap, which has forced London councils to look for cheap accommodation here in Harlow.
Mark Ingle, thank you very much. And if you want to watch the programme, you can go to the BBC iPlayer and search for Panorama Cashing In on the Housing Crisis.